The long day was finally coming to an end, and the women, all military personnel, were gathering for a simple dinner. Suddenly, a boisterous group of drunken thugs burst into the quiet diner. One of them, leering, ran his hand up the leg of the woman who was a general and ordered the youngest sergeant to dance for them, trying to force vodka into her mouth. At that moment, Anna Petrovna's gaze turned glacial. "Does a soldier dare touch a civilian? What can you even do, lady?" he sneered, and his cronies erupted in crude laughter. How will these military women handle this situation? Her hidden identity and shocking resolution revealed. Major General Anna Petrovna Volkova, the first woman to command a division in the U.S. Army. Looking at her, it was hard to believe she was over 50. Her posture was impeccable, and her eyes burned with the same fire as in her youth. Within the army, she was already a legend. The weapon, Iron General. These nicknames followed her everywhere. An iron will, forged in harsh training exercises and real combat operations, combined with outstanding leadership qualities, made her unparalleled. To her subordinates, she was a strict but caring leader, genuinely concerned about their safety and development. Her division was always considered elite, and the soldiers were ready to follow her through hell and high water. However, when she took off her uniform and changed into civilian clothes, General Volkova transformed into an ordinary middle-aged woman. A plain face without makeup and a gentle smile made her look like any neighbor. That day had been a particularly long and exhausting one. From dawn, she had personally supervised large-scale field exercises and then led an emergency operational meeting until late at night. Every cell in her body ached, but Anna Petrovna didn't show it. On the contrary, her gaze was even clearer. She confidently controlled the situation and encouraged her subordinates. After finishing all her tasks and leaving the division headquarters, she headed home late at night. But instead of going to her spacious government-provided apartment, she went to a small, unassuming diner not far from the base. The place didn't even have a proper sign, and only regulars came here, a true hidden gem. But the aroma of homemade chili and the murmur of voices emanating from within always soothed her tired soul. Today she was joined by two young sergeants, whom she particularly cherished. After several sleepless nights in the exercises, both had dark circles under their eyes and their faces were gaunt. Anna Petrovna felt sorry for them, and proud of their endurance, she invited them to dinner. "You did a great job. My treat tonight, so eat as much as you can." Hearing this, the young sergeants rejoiced like children. Having dinner with the division commander herself was an almost unreal event for them. The diner was already almost full. Workers who had come to unwind after their shifts and locals who had come for dinner sat here. Noisy conversations and the appetizing smells of food created a unique atmosphere of liveliness. Anna and her companions were lucky to find a free table in the corner. Although they were in civilian clothes, their short, severe haircuts and precise, honed movements gave them away as military. But no one in the diner suspected that Anna Volkova was a general with stars on her shoulders. They looked like ordinary colleagues or friends who had come to dinner together. "Hi, we'll take 2 bowls of chili and the home-style pot roast, please, and extra cornbread. We're so hungry today, we could faint," said the youngest of them, Sergeant Katie Ivanova, in her usual cheerful voice. Anna Petrovna looked at her with a warm smile. Katie had only been in the service for a year, but even after the most grueling training, she never lost her optimism and energized everyone around her. A true vitamin for the unit. "That's right, eat your fill tonight, I just got paid, so don't worry," Anna joked, and her subordinates laughed again. The diner owner, an elderly woman, placed steaming chili, an appetizing pot roast, and plenty of sides on the table. "Oh, what beautiful women, and so strong too. It's clear you're military. It must not be easy protecting our country. Here, take these. These are apple pies, my treat. Eat up, get your strength back." The owner looked at Anna and her companions and spoke to them with maternal warmth. Her wrinkled face glowed with kindness. "Thank you so much, ma'am. Everything looks so delicious. We're happy to eat it." Anna nodded politely and replied with a soft smile. These moments, simple conversations with ordinary people and their sincere kindness, were more precious to her than any fancy dinner. This was her most valuable relaxation. A spoonful of hot chili seemed to wash away the fatigue after the exercises, and a piece of fragrant pot roast gave her strength for tomorrow's tasks. Her subordinates also relaxed and happily enjoyed their dinner. But this quiet and peaceful evening was interrupted. The diner door burst open with a crash, and a group of men stumbled inside with loud shouts. It was clear at first glance that these were no ordinary customers. They all had fierce faces, their arms covered in bright tattoos, and they reeked of cheap whiskey. It was clear they had already been celebrating in several places. Their eyes were glazed, and their gait was unsteady. Among them, a middle-aged man with a huge belly stood out. He walked in the center, holding his chin up importantly. A thick gold chain glittered on his neck, like in the gangster movies. He looked around at the customers, as if he were king here. This was Boris the Boar Gromov, a local crime boss who held the entire neighborhood in fear. Next to him, fawning, scurried his right-hand man, a man with a scar on his face. Behind them, like a living wall, followed about 10 burly and grim-looking thugs. As soon as the Boar's gang entered the diner, the lively atmosphere instantly changed to icy silence. The customers, who had just been chatting merrily, fell silent as if on command. Children hid fearfully behind their mothers. The diner owner, seeing the Boar, turned as pale as a sheet. She had already encountered his outrages before. "Boris, hello, please, come in." She tried to force a smile, but her voice trembled with fear. The Boar glared at her contemptuously, and, as if he were at home, sat down at the largest table, sprawling in the chair. "Hey, you old woman. Bring vodka and the most expensive appetizers here, and be quick about it. We're renting out the whole diner tonight. Everyone else out!" His gruff and commanding roar made the air in the room freeze even more. Anna silently observed what was happening. The expression on her face didn't change, although a sharp eye might have noticed her eyebrow twitch for a moment. She tried to remain calm. Years of experience had taught her that getting involved with such scum was more trouble than it was worth. She subtly signaled to her subordinates. Her gaze was directed at the Boar's gang, but the meaning was clear. Ignore them. Finish quickly and leave. The young sergeants nodded tensely. The aggressive atmosphere created by the thugs and their unpleasant, assessing looks had long taken away their appetite. They wanted to leave this place as soon as possible, but it seemed the Boar had other plans. After downing a shot that his henchman had poured for him, he again fixed his lustful gaze on the military women. His attention lingered particularly on Anna, who exuded an aura of restrained dignity. Perhaps her composure only fueled his perverse desire to assert himself. "Hey, look at those chicks at that table. Especially the older one, the figure and face afire. Tonight she'll be mine," the Boar whispered to his assistant. His vulgar words were spoken loudly enough for everyone in the diner to hear, including Anna and her companions. What do these creeps think they're doing? How can they say such things? Sergeant Olga Petrova, the most hot-tempered of them, couldn't stand it and hissed with anger. Anna gently touched her shoulder, calming her down. "Olga, be patient. We're soldiers. We don't need to stoop to the level of this trash. Let's finish dinner and leave quietly." But there was already ice in her voice. She could have tolerated insults directed at herself, but she couldn't allow her subordinates, who wore the sacred uniform and defended the country, to be humiliated in this way. At that moment, the Boar, staggering, got up with a bottle of vodka and headed straight for their table. A drunken and disgusting smirk played on his face. "Hey, beauties, it's boring to drink alone. Let's come join us at our table. Let's have some fun. I'm paying for everything. Don't be shy." He spoke with a slurred tongue, pretending to barely stand on his feet. Swaying, he accidentally ran his dirty hand across Anna's thigh. It was blatant and vile harassment. Anna's gaze flashed like a knife blade, but she barely suppressed the anger that was tearing out and tried to answer as restrained as possible. "I'm sorry, but we'd like to finish dinner and leave quietly. And please don't touch us again." Her voice was quiet, but it contained such a firm and cold warning that it could freeze anyone. However, this only amused the Boar. He burst into an even more disgusting laugh. "What, is she daring to tell me what to do? I touched you. So what are you going to do? You don't seem to know who I am. In this neighborhood, even the dogs run away with their tails between their legs at the sight of Boris the Boar. When I offer a drink, everyone falls to their knees with happiness, and you little brat, are showing off." His voice became louder and more aggressive. The huge thugs standing nearby rose from their seats and threateningly surrounded Anna's table. Their fierce looks made the atmosphere in the diner completely unbearable. The other customers froze in fear, afraid to even breathe. The diner owner, with tears in her eyes, darted from side to side but didn't dare to do anything against a dozen thugs. Anna slowly rose with a deep sigh. It was pointless to stay here any longer. "We are members of the United States Armed Forces. "We don't want to cause inconvenience to civilians. Please allow us to leave." She politely stated her status, giving a final warning. Her voice still sounded calm, but beneath it seethed a volcano of anger. But the word military only infuriated the boar. He again blocked her path and, breathing alcohol, sneered. "Military, so what? Women soldiers? Do you even know how to shoot? Or are you a general here or something? Why are you holding your nose so high? But you have a pretty face and a nice figure too. If you entertain me properly tonight, maybe I'll forgive you." Ah, tempting offer. His words were so disgusting that it was hard to call them human speech. Anna involuntarily clenched her fists, but still kept herself in check. She silently tried to lead her subordinates away and leave the diner, but the boar's next act finally broke her last thread of patience. He suddenly turned, and with all his might, slapped Katie Ivanova, the youngest and most fragile of them, across the face. There was a terrible, disgusting sound of a smack. Katie's small body swayed from the blow. She barely managed to stay on her feet. But the boar didn't think that was enough. He took a bottle of vodka and poured the rest of the icy liquid directly onto her head. Cold, sticky vodka ran down Katie's hair, face, and clothes. "So, soldier, are you going to hit a civilian? You don't have the guts. Who are you to touch Boris the boar, a woman in uniform? You'll stand there silently and drip. You're useless creatures," he roared like a madman, and his gang burst into wild laughter, pointing at the humiliated girl. Katie, unable to withstand the physical pain and unbearable humiliation, collapsed to the floor and sobbed like a child. Her fragile shoulders shook with fear and shame. The other women, the sergeants, turned red with rage, but their status as military personnel tied their hands and feet. Physical conflict with civilians, especially with thugs, was strictly prohibited. It was the basis of military discipline. They could only drill the boar in his pack with looks full of hatred and feel helpless rage. Before Anna's eyes, her subordinate, whom she was supposed to protect, was so cruelly and mercilessly humiliated. From the depths of her soul, like lava, a cold, unstoppable anger began to rise. If all these insults and harassments had been directed only at her, she, as a soldier and a woman, might have been able to endure it. But this terrible shame, the tears and fear that her young subordinate, who was just beginning her career in the army, had to endure, shattered her last patience. At that moment, she ceased to be Major General Volkova, the pride of the U.S. Army. She became an enraged tigress, ready to give her life to protect her cub. In the oppressive silence, Anna very slowly rose. Not a trace remained of her former polite and restrained expression. Her facial muscles petrified, and her gaze became colder than ice. When she stood up, the very air around her seemed to freeze, permeated with unbearable tension. It was the calm before the storm. The boar still didn't realize the seriousness of the situation. Seeing that Anna had finally gotten angry, he only smirked, adding fuel to the fire. "Oh, we seem to have gotten angry. Have you decided to measure strength with me? You have enough courage for a woman. Well, let's see what you're capable of." He still saw her as just a weak woman. Only arrogance and meanness were read in his eyes. But when he met her gaze, cold and sharp as the winter wind in the Siberian steppe, he involuntarily shuddered. This gaze didn't belong to an ordinary woman. It was the gaze of a predator, a seasoned fighter who had gone through hell and countless deadly battles, the gaze of the fiercest beast, thirsting for blood. Hannah approached the crying Katie and gently but firmly put her arms around her fragile shoulders. "It's okay, now it's really okay. I'll protect you and fix everything," she whispered in her ear. Her voice was quiet, but it contained such strength and confidence that it was like a beacon in a storm. In her words mingled deep anger and the indomitable determination of a commander to protect her people at any cost. Katie, clinging to Anna, sobbed even harder, but at the same time felt incredible calm and boundless trust. She knew that now her commander would put an end to this nightmare. Anna slowly raised her head, and like a predator tracking its prey, alternately fixed her gaze on the boar and his thugs. Her gaze was so cold and commanding that even these burly thugs who had just been spewing curses involuntarily swallowed and backed away. "You." Anna's voice was low and calm, as if coming from the underworld itself, but its weight made the air vibrate. "You have no idea who you dared to touch, and how terrible the price will be for your dirty deed. You'll understand that today." She had turned into a living embodiment of wrath. In order not to endanger other visitors, she addressed the thugs in an icy tone. "Follow me. I don't want to put on a circus in front of innocent people. Don't make me repeat myself twice. If you come out on your own, you'll have a chance to save at least some of your health." Saying this, she left the diner without turning around. Her goal was the dark and deserted alley behind the building. Tonight, it was to become a place of justice. The boar and his men exchanged stunned glances. They still didn't understand who they had gotten involved with. What can one woman do against 10 healthy men? This stupid and arrogant thought flashed through their heads. They exchanged dirty smirks and followed her. "Well, let's see how tough you are. Show our boss and the guys what you're capable of," the boar's assistant shouted at her back. The boar tried to portray strength and confidence until the very end. They didn't understand that they were stepping into hell with their own feet. The diner owner and the frightened visitors didn't dare to stop them. They only looked after them with trepidation. The young sergeants also wanted to follow their commander, but Anna stopped them at the door with a stern voice. "You stay here. Don't step out of the diner. That's an order. I'll deal with this trash and come back." There wasn't a trace of her usual warmth in her voice. It was the order of a commander on the battlefield, harsh and brooking no objections. As soon as they entered the dark, damp alley, the boar and his men showed their true colors. With disgusting smirks, they surrounded Anna, cutting off all paths to retreat. The dim light of a street lamp cast their sinister shadows on the walls. "Well, what are you going to do now? No one will help you here," the boar hissed, approaching her. He swung to grab her hair and hit her. A cruel smirk distorted his ugly face, and at that moment, Anna's body moved with lightning speed that no human eye could catch. The boar's heavy fist cut through the void. In the next second, he collapsed on the dirty ground with a wild scream, feeling unbearable pain in his broken arm. Ah, my arm." His inhuman howl tore through the night silence. His faithful dogs stood dumbfounded by shock, unable to believe that their invincible boss had been struck down by one movement of a seemingly fragile woman. Without giving them a chance to come to their senses, Anna, like a ghost, slipped between them and began to mercilessly disarm them one by one. In the past, she had been a living legend of the Special Forces, an elite unit that carried out the most dangerous assignments. She was proficient not only in hand-to-hand combat, but also in other types of martial arts. She was a real fighting machine that had gone beyond human capabilities. Usually, she hid her deadly power behind a gentle smile, but when her anger broke out, it was impossible to stop her. Her movements were light as the wind and fast as a panther pouncing on its prey. Each of her actions was precise and deadly, aimed at the instant neutralization of the enemy. She easily dodged their clumsy blows and scattered them around the alley like paper dolls. There were dull blows and the crunch of breaking bones. One thug flew into the wall from her lightning kick, with the crunch of broken ribs. Another howled with pain when she applied a painful hold, twisting his elbow and wrist. A third, receiving a knee strike to the solar plexus, collapsed to the ground, foaming at the mouth. In a matter of minutes, the alley turned into hell on earth, filled with groans and cries of pain. The thugs, who had moments ago been mocking her, were now scrambling to escape in panic, but all exits were blocked. Boar, his arm broken, crawled backward in terror, begging for mercy. Who are you? Monster, stay away!" His voice was a mix of horror and belated regret. Anna approached and stepped with her boot on his broken arm. A sickening crunch echoed, and Boar screamed in a way no human should. She leaned down and whispered in his ear, in an icy voice, "This is the price for you scum daring to touch a soldier of the Russian army. My soldier. Don't expect to leave here alive." The remaining thugs were either incapacitated or desperately trying to flee, but Anna's shadow overtook them, and justice was served. Their arrogant smirks turned into bloody grimaces of pain. The situation had changed instantly and drastically. On her left shoulder, beneath the torn clothing, a glimpse of an old, faded tattoo, the emblem of her Special Forces unit, was visible. It only emphasized the deadly aura emanating from her. Her eyes burned with righteous anger. Soon the silence of the night was shattered by the wail of sirens. Several police cars pulled up to the alley. One of the sergeants, disobeying orders, had called the police. Armed officers cautiously entered the alley, prepared for anything, but what they saw exceeded all their expectations. The entire Boar gang, which had been terrorizing the neighborhood, lay on the ground in pools of blood, and in the middle of this carnage stood a single woman in civilian clothes. Her clothes were slightly torn. A bruise was visible on her cheek, but she was completely calm. Anna elegantly adjusted her hair and, dusting off her torn jacket, calmly addressed the approaching officers. "Good evening. Retired Major of Justice, now Major General Volkova. This was self-defense. These men attacked me and my colleagues, threatened us, and used violence. All the patrons and the owner of the diner can confirm this." There wasn't a trace of agitation in her voice. It was the report of an experienced commander. The officers, stunned by her charisma, silently began handcuffing the groaning bandits. Bohr, being dragged to a car, cast a look full of hatred and terror at her, but she responded with only cold contempt. When it was all over, Anna, as if nothing had happened, returned to the diner. All eyes were fixed on her. They reflected shock, admiration, and awe. Katya Ivanova, with tearful eyes, ran to her. "Comrade General, thank you so much. I will never forget this." She couldn't finish and, bursting into tears, hugged her, then gave a crisp military salute. The other sergeants did the same. That night, they realized that their commander was not just a high-ranking officer, but a true hero. The owner of the diner and other patrons, realizing who was in front of them, looked at her with immense respect. "You are an incredible woman," the owner said in a trembling voice, handing her a hot towel and tea. "To punish those thugs like that, I have tears of relief. Thank you, Comrade General, and my deepest bow to you." A few days later, General Volkova, as usual, was commanding exercises on a huge parade ground. Her loud, clear voice echoed across the field, and thousands of soldiers moved as one. It seemed as if that terrible night in the alley had never happened. Katya Ivanova, recovering from the shock, became an even stronger and more confident sergeant. She became the best in her unit, an example for everyone. Anna looked at her grown-up subordinates with a warm but still strict smile. Confidence grew in her soul. For them, she was ready for anything. She mentally repeated to herself, "Never judge a person by appearance or gender. True strength is not in muscles or rank, but in the courage to defend what is dear to you, and in the unyielding will to resist evil." That night, General Volkova, risking her career and honor, showed everyone what it means to be a true leader. After the exercises, she smiled and headed with her tired but happy soldiers to the cafeteria. Their faces shone not with fatigue, but with boundless trust and deep respect for their commander, a great woman who would always protect them. This story is a powerful reminder that even in the darkest darkness, justice lives and true courage will always shine the brightest.